You guys are halfway through the season, no shockers. Do you get worried because you've become such a fan favorite that at any moment it could be the time when they finally kill off Daryl?
I think that we'd all be lying on the show if we said we weren't worried about it. I mean, every time we get a script, we thumb through to the back and just, whew. But no one's safe in that world. So I don't want anybody to dare anybody to kill me. I don't want to. I don't know. It's a lot of fun, and it's we're a big family out there, and we really love each other. As weird as that sounds, but we all have each other's backs, and I hope I last forever.
It seems like there is a really deep connection with the cast. So when something happens like Herschel exits the show, how difficult is that?
I mean, that was a tough one. I mean, Scott's a really good friend of mine. He actually just stayed with me here in New York. I took him up to Lou Reed's memorial at the Apollo, and he's a really good friend of mine. And, John Bernthal's a really good friend of mine as well. But whenever we lose anybody on that cast, it's awful. I mean, it's a lot like real life, though. I mean, you always feel like you have more time with someone, and then they're taken from you. So it has that element, that reality to it. You know?
Those kind of lessons. And people take a lot from zombie movies in general, that it's a greater metaphor for life, and you can kind of tell these things. What should we take by the fact that The Walking Dead is constantly killing off the characters that are the good guys?
Yeah, I mean, that's how life works, too, I mean, it really is so based in reality in that way. I mean, it's, these are your 2 feet on the ground, and who do you want to be, and your words are important, and your actions are important, and what are you going to fight for? So it's very realistic like that.
Because people are just so obsessed with the show, I want to ask you a few things. I'm not sure how much you can tell me here, but can we expect any more shocking deaths this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Can
you elaborate?
It's The Walking Dead, so you know what I mean. Yeah, people die, but I will say that, like this season, I mean, this is our A team right now. There's not a weak link in our chain right now, and our showrunner Scott is killing it, and our writers are so good. And there's an episode that comes on this Sunday that Angela King wrote, and she's such a good writer. And Scott, they're so good, and our directors are so good. And actually, our editor, Jute, he directed this episode, his first directorial. I mean, he's been sitting in a room with us since day one, so he really knows the characters. But the one coming up is especially good.
Yeah, and this one is really centered around you. We can expect
it is, yeah.
a lot of Daryl.
Which makes me nervous, but I saw it yesterday, so I've been walking on clouds ever since, so I'm excited.
Okay, so spoiler alert just for the last episode, Carol, we see her emerge again. Is it possible that you guys are going to reunite?
Never say never, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, Carol and Daryl, that relationship is a real strong one. They're both so similar. Damaged people kind of gravitate towards damaged people, and they both see each other in themselves, or themselves in each other. So never say never.
Okay. The diehards will be combing through this, sifting for clues for what you're saying, Norman. But I just want to ask a couple logistical things. So, post-apocalyptic. You don't have a lot of wardrobe changes. Are you wearing the same jeans and shirt, or do you have like a whole, it's like Superman, where you just have a whole closet full of the same thing?
I like to wear the same thing as long as possible. Daryl's not really the type of guy that's going to go shopping in the zombie apocalypse.
There's no gap in a post-apocalyptic world, right?
I mean, I can understand some of the characters going, I need to change, or liking those, or changing that, but Daryl's not, he's really not about that, So I'm trying to keep him as realistic as possible. Like it would be ridiculous if he took his shirt off and he had like a 6-pack. It'd just be ridiculous. So
it wouldn't go with the whole thread that you've created in the character that you really.
I'm still, I'm still trying to keep up with all those little action figures with their muscles. So, but yeah, I mean, we try to keep the characters as real as possible. I know Andy and I both want to wear the same clothes from the beginning to the end. So, I kind of, I want to be filthy.
I can imagine too that once you yell cut, then basically everyone's just kind of sitting around in zombie makeup. So do you ever see people maybe going to the lunch line, talking on a cell phone, just in full zombie
all the time
apparel? That must be kind of strange.
All the time. I ride a motorcycle to and from set. I stay way out in the woods in Georgia, and sometimes I'll have blood. I'll wear a T-shirt home, on my motorcycle, but I'll have blood all over me, and I'll just be
fake
like, I'm
blood.
going home. Yeah, fake blood. But I'll get on the bike and. I'll stop at a light or something, and people will be looking at me like, oh my God, and I'm so used to wearing so much blood. But the bad thing is there's so many little bugs in the air in Georgia, so they stick to your arms. You have blood with little like bugs covering. You know, it's kind of disgusting.
Yeah, you go into like a convenience store to buy a Diet Coke, and you look like you just came from a zombie apocalypse. People are probably a little nervous.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
I can imagine. You earlier in your career, you kind of got into an interesting sort of niche where you were in a lot of music videos. You've been around some of the best and greatest musicians of our time, like Radiohead and also Keith Richards. I mean, what was it like being around all these people, and how'd you get into that?
Well, I lived in Los Angeles at the time, and there was a series of directors who are all huge film directors now, but at the time they were doing a lot of music videos and commercials and whatnot. But they would sort of pass me around. The first one was a gentleman named Tarsem, who's an amazing director. He did like The Cell and a bunch of other stuff, but like a very visual director. He put me in one, and David Fincher and Mark Romanek and Jean-Baptiste Mondino. But to go and hang out with Radiohead for a day is cool, or Bjork for a day, or I just was in the Lady Gaga's video. I was doing a film in Los Angeles, and I'm sitting in my trailer looking at my motorcycle, you know, what should I change, or what should I do this? And I get a call about being in the Lady Gaga video, and they said, can you ride a motorcycle? And I'm like, well, I'm actually looking at my motorcycle. And they said, well, we're going to send you a bunch of bikes to see if you'll ride them in the video. And I was like, well, I'll only do it if I can ride my own bike, because maybe one day I'll sell it as the Judas bike, you know what I mean? And plus you want to ride your own bike, you know. But yeah, it was cool hanging out with all of them.
I can imagine it's a good feeling when you go for a role and there's like, well, we're going to need you to be on a motorcycle all the time. You're like, well,
fun.
Yeah. I ride one to set, I'll ride one on set, and then I'll ride home.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I sort of have a fear of horses, and I just came from The Conspirator right before I went to Georgia to do this, and I was like, please don't put me on a horse. Please don't put me on a horse. I'll ride the bike, you know. And I kept asking in the beginning, because the motorcycle on set, I was like, whose bike is this? Like, in the storyline, who owns this bike? And they were like, oh, that's Merle's bike. So I was like hoping they were going to put me on a motorcycle and not a horse. Yeah.
Fear of horses. All right, we'll have to get into that the next time that you come to visit, because you're on your way to do something pretty cool. This is kind of the spoils that come with being on a hit TV show. You get to go to New Orleans and be part of the Mardi Gras festivities. So what are you doing?
I'm going tomorrow, actually. I go to New Orleans. I'm the Grand Marshal of the Endymion Parade.
It's a big job.
I'm terrified. I've never been to Mardi Gras before, but I'm excited because I love New Orleans. I'm going to be throwing cups and beads and, I don't know, whatever goes down in Mardi Gras. But yeah, I'm excited to do it for sure.
Hey there, SI fans. I hope you enjoyed this clip from our daily live show, SI Now. You can find a link to the complete episode in the description box below. And while you're there, make sure to subscribe to Sports Illustrated's YouTube channel. Remember, you can watch SI Now Monday through Friday live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time only on SI.com. We'll see you there.